On the next street, a new braised stew shop claiming to have a century-old recipe opened. It opened just a month ago, and it already stole all the business from our shop. My boyfriend was furious. He wanted to steal their secret recipe at midnight. He said they must have added illegal drugs. He just had bone fracture surgery 5 months ago. So I told him not to be impulsive, but he wouldn't listen. After that day, my boyfriend disappeared. Until a week later, I saw a passing stray dog, carrying a large bone. There were a few steel pins attached to the bone. Xiao Zhou. Is Chen Hao still not back from his study trip? Chen Hao's mom called me again. I comforted her patiently for a while. Finally, feeling overwhelmed by her questions, I said, "Auntie, customers are here. I have to go to work now." I hung up the phone. Looking at the empty shop, I felt a bit dazed. Even sitting at the door, I could hear the bustling hawking from the next street. Centennial braised stew. The best in the world. My name is Zhou Yan. After graduating from college, the job market was extremely tough. My boyfriend Chen Hao and I decided to start our own business. After picking carefully and borrowing money everywhere, we finally opened a small braised stew shop here on Tianqiu, a very prime location. Because we specially took classes to learn the craft, the taste of our stew was pretty good. When we first opened, business was booming. Although the crowds eventually thinned out, we managed to gather some regular customers. Our income had always been quite stable. Chen Hao and I originally planned to save more money and get married next year. Until a month ago, our peaceful life was shattered. A new braised stew shop opened on the next street. They claimed to be Centennial Braised Stew. They said their old broth had been boiling continuously for 100 years. As soon as they opened, their business was incredibly hot. Even our regular customers were taken away. Chen Hao and I disguised ourselves as customers and went to taste it. After one bite, we were completely stunned. The taste of their stew was extremely unique and fragrant. Just one bite, and the aftertaste could linger all night. We went there to eat for 3 consecutive days. On the night of the 3rd day, Chen Hao suddenly sat up in bed. "This isn't right, we're addicted." He hurriedly yelled at me, "I'm calling the police. They must have put illegal substances in their stew." Some people in the food business, in order to enhance the flavor of the food, would add poppy pods for seasoning. This is illegal. Chen Hao felt that as long as they were caught using illegal drugs, that braised stew shop would be finished, and our shop could come back to life. I held him back. "We have no proof. Will the police even care?" Chen Hao calmed down. "You're right. I need to find evidence." It was already midnight. Most of the shops on the 2 streets were closed. Since we had no business, we closed even earlier. Chen Hao suddenly thought of something, got up, and started putting on his clothes. "I'm going to check their shop, the trash cans at the door, and the back kitchen. I'll definitely find some clues." I was startled. "Don't be impulsive. He was in a car accident 5 months ago and fractured his leg. It hasn't completely healed yet. If he gets caught by someone, he won't even be able to run away." But Chen Hao was unusually stubborn. "It's fine. I'll just take a look and come right back." He ignored me, pushed the door open, and walked out into the dark night. The next day, Chen Hao didn't come back. I received a text message from him. He said that the shop got their secret recipe from Zunyang City. He said he was going there to find it too. Leaving so suddenly like this, it was simply too abnormal. He didn't even come back to pack his clothes. I suspected that the people from the braised stew shop had locked him up. So I went to their shop that very day. The shop owners were a married couple. They smiled kindly at everyone, looking very amicable, but the smiles at the corners of their mouths made me feel inexplicably creeped out. The boss brought me directly to the surveillance monitor and showed me a video. The night was dark, but the camera captured it clearly. Chen Hao appeared at 11:30 p.m. He hovered around their shop entrance for 10 minutes, then picked their lock and slipped inside. An hour later, Chen Hao's figure appeared at the shop entrance again. He lowered his head, walked slowly to the road, and disappeared from the surveillance footage. I blushed profusely and hurriedly apologized to them. The shop owners didn't make a fuss about it. After I left their shop, I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It seemed Chen Hao really went to find that so-called exclusive secret recipe, but except for that one message on the first day, he completely lost contact for the next few days. All the way until today, I was feeling quite anxious, not knowing what to do. Woof, a dog barked at the door. I looked up, only to see a big yellow dog carrying a bone in its mouth, walking past my shop. I recognized it at a glance. It was a stray dog that often hung around this area. The vendors on these two streets also liked to feed it some food when they were free. The bone in its mouth was very large. Looked like a beef bone. It placed the bone on the ground, lowered its head and gnawed a few times, eating with relish. I watched it for a few seconds. My gaze stayed on that bone for a moment. Then I suddenly froze. Why were there steel pins on it? Somehow, I suddenly thought of Chen Hao. He had surgery for his fracture before. There should be similar steel pins left in his leg. This association startled me. I immediately got up, wanting to get a closer look at that bone. But the startled yellow dog, out of its food-guarding instinct, immediately picked up the bone and ran away. I couldn't catch up. Standing alone in the middle of the road, feeling somewhat at a loss, a vendor next door saw me and kindly asked, "What's wrong?" I asked him, "Do you know who gave Ah Huang that bone it was carrying just now?" He shook his head and just pointed over there. I only saw it coming from the next street. This matter lingered in my mind and wouldn't dissipate for a long time. At night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. I took out my phone and called Chen Hao. Unsurprisingly, his phone was still turned off. I was unusually panicked. My intuition told me something might have happened to Chen Hao. The videos I swiped on my phone recently were all about unidentified male corpses showing up somewhere. Before confirming it wasn't Chen Hao, I would break into a cold sweat every single time. Ding dong, a notification sound suddenly rang on my phone. I looked down. The streamer you follow, Master Shi Shi, is live. Come and chat. Master Shi Shi. I froze for a moment and suddenly remembered. Back before we opened this braised stew shop, while walking under a footbridge, we found a fortune teller to read our fortune. That master was a very young girl. She looked a bit unreliable, but the price was very cheap. We spent a few dozen bucks to ask her if our shop's location was a good spot. She said a lot. In short, the location was good, and we could make money, but in the future, some variables might appear around it, affecting the fortune. Later, when the shop opened, I forgot about this matter. During that time, while playing on my phone, I accidentally saw her live streaming. I found it novel, so I casually hit the follow button. Now, thinking back carefully to what she said, under the footbridge back then, I shuddered. She was completely right. Right now, this variable had appeared. Thinking of this, I clicked into her live stream without hesitation. After a few seconds of buffering, a young girl's face appeared on the screen. Exactly the same as I remembered. She was casually chatting with netizens. Looking at her, the anxiety from these past few days seemed to ease. My intuition told me this master could definitely save me. I quickly typed in the chat, "Master Shi Shi. I am Zhou Yan. I asked you for a fortune reading under the footbridge 2 years ago. Do you still remember? Now there's a problem with my shop. I want to ask you to read another fortune. Can I?" As soon as I sent these two sentences, the netizens couldn't sit still. What the hell? You have to line up for Master Shi Shi's readings. Don't cut in line. Yeah, I've been waiting for days. I didn't know the rules of this live stream. Being scolded by them made me a bit flustered. Instead, Shi Shi looked at the comments and chuckled softly, "It's you." I didn't expect her to actually remember me. She sat up straight, her voice clear. "Since it's an old customer, and it's related to your shop, then naturally I have to provide after-sales service. The first reading today will be yours." After I told her everything in detail, the live stream comments went silent for a few seconds, then completely exploded. Based on my experience of hanging around Master Shi Shi's stream for 3 months, that braised stew shop is definitely abnormal. The ops boyfriend might have been imprisoned by them. Come on. They already showed the surveillance. Her boyfriend left by himself. Just then, someone asked, "Did the ops see it clearly? Was the person who left really your boyfriend?" My heart skipped a beat. I think so. It was too dark. Couldn't see the face clearly. I recorded the surveillance video at the time. I watched it several times after coming back, but still couldn't see the face clearly. Shi Shi, who had been silent, spoke up. "You recorded the video?" I froze for a moment. "Yes." "Send it to me privately." I hurriedly sent the video to her via direct message. On the screen, Shi Shi looked down at the video, her face expressionless. After the video finished playing, Shi Shi still didn't look up. Her finger paused the video at a certain frame. Frowning slightly. A few seconds later, she looked up at me. "You watched it so many times. Didn't you notice that this person in the video never touches his heels to the ground when he walks?" Hearing her words, I was startled. I quickly found the video and watched it again. In the dim footage, the man was lifting his foot to walk across the road. I widened my eyes, not blinking once. My heart began to beat violently. Just as Shi Shi said, he really never touched his heels to the ground when walking. This was not Chen Hao's walking posture at all, master. If he is not Chen Hao, then who is he? My voice trembled as I asked this question. Shi Shi asked me, "Did you notice anything else unusual about that braised stew shop?" I thought about it and finally said tentatively, "One night I went back to my shop to get something and heard them crying inside with the door closed." Does this count? I didn't think much of it at the time. I thought they were just a couple arguing. So I didn't meddle. Got my stuff from my shop and left. Shi Shi's face turned solemn. After thinking carefully for a moment, she sat up slightly straighter, combining what you described. "I have a guess. Have you ever heard of Ghouls Shi Shi Gui?" In the Shu Yi Ji by the famous northern and southern dynasties mathematicians, such a demon was recorded. Ghouls have existed since ancient times. With constant wars in ancient times, they never lacked food. On the ruins of battlefields, the figures of ghouls could often be seen. Before eating, they would mourn for the dead, and then peel off the dead person's skin. They eat all the meat inside, and then leave wearing the skin. Such bizarre demons were not tolerated by the world. At that time, people believed in being buried in peace. One's body belongs to their parents. Even after death, the corpse should not be damaged. Ghouls were almost completely slaughtered 300 years ago. But a small portion survived. They began to learn how to disguise themselves. They put human skin on themselves, learning the appearance of the living, and gradually blended into the human world. But they couldn't stop the instinct of eating humans. So they could only dig up newly buried coffins to eat the corpses inside. Until modern times, fewer and fewer people practice earth burials. Most people chose the more environmentally friendly and convenient cremation. Thus, it became harder and harder for ghouls to get food. Shi Shi's voice was low, but her words were extremely terrifying. She said, "Now ghouls hide in schools and cities. They've learned to actively hunt." Netizens asked in the chat, "Oh my god. Are there really such terrifying creatures living around us? How often do ghouls feed? How do ghouls hunt?" Shi Ni glanced at the comments and answered them one by one. They do live around us. But the number is very small now. Currently, according to our internal records, there are no more than 10 of them. A ghoul eats about 2 to 3 people a year. The ghoul's hunting method is learned from humans. They actively show kindness to their prey to lower their guard. Occasionally, they even feed their prey. Then, when the prey is completely defenseless, they deal a fatal blow. The netizens were stunned. But someone quickly reacted. So the braised stew shop the op mentioned is run by ghouls. They are feeding their prey. And, the crying the op heard at midnight. Was the ghoul mourning before eating? Holy crap, terrifying when you think about it. Shi Ni said, I can't be sure about this. I can only say it's very likely they retained the habit of mourning. I was terrified. Just as I was about to ask a few more questions, I saw a discordant comment suddenly pop up in the chat. Streamer, stop lying. Where did you come from, fake Taoist? I am a Taoist from Zhongguan Temple. Where are there any ghouls in modern society? Besides, those 2 commercial streets on Tianqiao First Road, our temple just went to investigate recently. Let alone ghouls. There weren't even any ordinary resentful spirits. It was completely clean. Stop being an alarmist here. This netizen named a man spoke with sharp sarcasm. But Shi Ni didn't react much. She asked. The supernatural phenomenon investigation at Tianqiao First Road was indeed handled by Zhongguan Temple. Who went? A man's words were full of pride. I went there personally. Shi Ni nodded. Then your skills must not be good enough. A man got anxious. Before he could type many words to question her, Shi Ni muted him. Just when some confused netizens started to question her, Shi Ni called my name, Zhou Yan. Her voice was as calm as ever. When that centennial braised stew shop opened, did they place anything at the ends of your commercial streets? Like flower baskets, stone lions, big signboards, or something like that? Yes. They placed a flower basket at both ends of the street. It's still there now. I live right across the street. As I spoke, I opened the curtains and pointed my phone camera over there. Look, Shi Ni paused. Then asked, is it convenient for you to go down for a moment? Go to that flower basket. It was just past PM. There were still many people walking back and forth on the commercial street, so I wasn't too scared. Hearing this, I opened the door and went downstairs. After a few steps, I reached the opposite street, pointing the phone at the flower basket. I followed Shi Ni's instructions and peeled back the flowers on the basket, revealing the floral foam underneath. The floral foam was split open in the middle, and a small bone was stuffed inside. A red string was tied around the bone. What is this? I instinctively reached out to grab it. Shi Ni stopped me in time. Don't move it. Shi Ni said, ghouls are territorial. They put the bones of the prey they've eaten at the ends of the street to warn other demons and ghosts that this is their territory. Everything in this territory is their prey. She suddenly changed the topic. A man. This is why you couldn't find a single resentful spirit. As for ghouls, they aren't exactly ghosts. They are closer to monsters. They have physical bodies and know how to disguise themselves, making it hard for ordinary people to tell. You blindly focused on investigating incorporeal ghosts and resentful spirits, and ended up ignoring them. A man was still online, but didn't speak up again. I stepped away from the flower basket with lingering fear. Just as I was about to go back, someone bumped into me from behind. I turned to look. He lowered his head slightly towards me, hunched his back, and walked into the commercial street. I froze for a moment and instinctively chased after him. His side profile looked very much like Chen Hao. Don't chase him. The moment I heard Shi Ni's voice, I stopped. I also realized something was wrong. He couldn't be Chen Hao. Chen Hao wouldn't react like this if he saw me. I stood there, my voice trembling. Master Shi Ni, Is my boyfriend still alive? Shi Ni fell silent. I bit my lip, and tears flowed uncontrollably. Chen Hao and I had been in love for 5 years, although we occasionally argued. Our lives were also very sweet. I had already considered him family. We even planned to return to our hometown to get married next year. Shi Ni's voice sounded in my ear, Zhou Yan. Although it's inappropriate to say this now, please don't rush to grieve. Things around you are not right. Go home immediately. I wiped my eyes and turned to look, only to see the commercial street, which previously was now completely empty. The originally dim yellow streetlights turned pale white. A thick fog filled the air. Visibility was terrifyingly low. What's going on? I looked around in horror. There was really no one else. I quickly ran back the way I came. In less than 5 minutes, I arrived downstairs at my building and unhesitatingly pushed the door in. Looking at the unfamiliar scene before me, I froze. This wasn't my home. Did I go to the wrong place? I turned around to push the door out, only to find a mottled wall behind me. There was no door at all. Then how did I just get in? My scalp tingled, and my whole body felt like it fell into an ice cellar. Fortunately, my phone was still connected to Shi Ni's live stream. Her voice calmed me down. It's my negligence. I shouldn't have let you go down. She was a bit annoyed. You're caught in a miasma maze. Don't panic yet. I'm already rushing to Tianqiu First Road. I asked with a trembling voice. What do I do now? Stay where you are. Try not to walk around. But the current situation probably didn't allow that. I heard a set of footsteps coming from far to near, heading straight for me. I didn't have time to speak, and quietly moved a few steps to the side. The light around me was dim. In my anxiety, I saw a large bamboo basket. I immediately walked over quickly, got in and hid. A board was pressed above my head. Inside the bamboo basket, holding my breath, my hearing was maximized at this moment. I heard the footsteps approaching right in front of me, and faintly heard the sound of bubbling, like something was boiling. Looking out through the gaps in the bamboo basket, a pair of feet walked past me. Those feet looked very strange. The front sole was large, and had only 4 toes. The nails were long and sharp. The heels were raised. It looked just like an animal's foot. He slowly walked away. I instinctively looked in the direction he left. This time I saw his back. This was simply not a human body shape. Extremely tall, with long, thin limbs, his back was hunched. I could clearly see his protruding spine. His head was lowered, so I couldn't see clearly. Recalling what Shi Ni said, I instantly thought of the ghoul. He slowly walked to a wall and touched it. The lights in the room suddenly turned on. I squinted and sized up the surroundings. This looked like a kitchen. There were many iron cabinets around, holding pots and pans. There was a large operating counter in the middle, and at the very back, a pot emitting smoke. 4 words were printed on the pot: Centennial Braised Stew. My eyes widened. This was the kitchen of the Centennial Braised Stew shop. I saw that ghoul walk up to the pot and lift the lid. He leaned in and smelled it. The smell was very strong. I instantly smelled the familiar aroma of the braised stew. The ghoul stirred the pot with a long ladle for a while. Then he stood and looked, seemingly dissatisfied. He slowly raised his right hand and violently bent his left index finger backward. Crack! I covered my mouth in horror. That ghoul, forcefully, snapped off his own index finger. He threw that piece of index finger into the pot, stirred it a few times, and then lowered his head to smell again. The aroma coming from the braised stew pot seemed to become richer. He was finally satisfied. I covered my mouth, feeling nauseous. So the centennial braised stew that everyone praised was made like this? The secret recipe Chen Hao was so desperate to find was actually the ghoul's own body parts. The ghoul covered the pot lid and then turned around. I finally saw his face clearly. He had a wolf's face, a long snout, fangs, and eyes glowing with green light. While I was in shock, another set of footsteps came. Thump, 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 thump. Another ghoul came over. Where's today's dinner? It's been prepared for a long time. It was shockingly the voices of that married couple. They weren't wearing human skin right now, communicating in their ghoul forms. This scene was incredibly eerie. The first ghoul suddenly smiled. Today's dinner is a bit naughty. Hiding in the bamboo basket, the two ghouls suddenly turned their heads to look in my direction. Their mouths curled into an eerie arc. Drool dripped from the corners of their mouths. Tick-tock. They had discovered me a long time ago. I violently burst out of the bamboo basket and ran wildly in panic. But I couldn't find an exit, and could only follow the direction the ghoul came from, running upstairs. The ghouls were too tall. The house was a bit cramped for them. Their movements were restricted and appeared clumsy. This was the only self-comfort I could find in this situation. I ran too fast and almost tripped several times along the way. Master Shi Ni, I cried out in panic. Help! Shi Ni's voice was slightly panting. I've already arrived at Tianqiu First Road. I'm breaking the miasma maze. Crying, I violently pushed into a room and locked the door behind me. The ghoul crashed into the door and stopped. I heard him speaking. Little girl, open the door. Don't you want to know where your boyfriend is? Come out, I'll take you to him. I'm not a 3-year-old child. I didn't believe a word he said. This room looked no different from an ordinary bedroom, but the windows were sealed shut, and the wardrobe was exceptionally large. The ghoul outside was frantically slamming against the door. The creaking sound grew louder and louder. I had nowhere to run. Under extreme fear, people will instinctively hide in places that make them feel safest. I only hesitated for a second before running over and opening the wardrobe doors. I was about to crawl inside, but froze when I saw what was inside. I collapsed to the floor, not even hearing Shi Ni calling me in my earphones. Inside the huge wardrobe, human skins hung densely, intact, elastic. Men and women, old and young. This seemed to be the wardrobe for those two ghouls. And the skin hanging on the very outside was wrinkled, as if it had just been taken off. Looking at that familiar face, I slumped to the ground. That was Chen Hao's skin. The ghoul was wearing this skin earlier to lure me into the miasma maze. Chen Hao was really dead. Bang! A loud noise came from behind. The door was smashed open. The ghoul walked in, panting heavily. I screamed and tried to crawl under the bed, but with a swing of his long arm, he accurately grabbed my ankle. I struggled non-stop. But still, like a defeated dog, I was lifted upside down by him. The ghoul seemed to be in a bad mood. I told you to come out, but you wouldn't. Made me break a door. You and your boyfriend are both so annoying. Hearing him mention Chen Hao, the taut string in my mind snapped. Waving my hands, I actually managed to hit him on the head. You killed Chen Hao. You killed Chen Hao. The ghoul slammed me against the wall. I was instantly dizzy, feeling warm blood flow down my forehead. He brought it upon himself. We weren't planning to feed that day, but he just had to sneak into our kitchen and become our food. The ghoul's laughter was sharp, like a sharp knife slashing my heart over and over again. He carried me and walked straight to the kitchen. I was placed on that operating counter. The ghoul, after waiting for a long time, tied my limbs to the four corners. Looks pretty good. His long tongue rolled out. With a wet slurp, a chill swept through my entire body. The aura of death enveloped me. The ghoul picked up a cleaver and aimed it at my neck. Just as he was about to slice down, the other ghoul stopped him. He hit me just now. I feel a bit angry. He rolled his eyes. I want to eat her alive today. Very few people have seen such a horrifying scene. A woman hog-tied on a dining table. Two ghouls sitting at the table, covering their faces and crying bitterly. At this moment, I was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. The ghouls were mourning for me, who was about to die. Under extreme fear, my muscles began to stiffen. I even started hallucinating. I seemed to see Chen Hao. He said he had saved enough money, that we would get married at the end of this year. He said he wanted to buy an apartment in the city, to let our future kids go to the best elementary school. Tears flowed from the corners of my eyes. I closed my eyes, already welcoming death. The ghouls' awful mourning stopped. They took a knife and gestured over my body, seemingly considering where to take the first bite. One of their knives stopped on my stomach. Humans have the thickest fat layer on their stomachs. I like to eat the fatty parts. He lifted my shirt with an evil grin. The hem was pulled up high. The knife was going to pierce down in the next second. Crash! The old window was violently smashed from the outside. Glass shattered everywhere, some stabbing fiercely into the ghoul's body. A slender figure rolled agilely on the ground and landed steadily. Finally found you, Shi Shi. I turned my head with difficulty to look at her. The girl with a delicate face had her wooden hairpin slightly skewed. She looked at me and smiled. Sorry I'm late. The next second, she charged forward, kicking away the ghoul closest to me. With a backhand slice of her dagger, she cut the ropes binding my limbs. I rolled off the table and hurriedly hid behind Shi Shi. Clutching the hem of her clothes, I felt an unprecedented sense of security. The cooked duck flew away, and the two ghouls were furious. Lunging forward with bared fangs and claws, step back and find a place to hide. Shi Shi threw the cloth bag from her waist to me. Find something to defend yourself. She didn't have time to say another word, dodging the ghoul's claws sideways. Holding a peach wood sword, she thrust forward, clutching the bag. I started climbing up the stairs to the side. Shi Shi held off one ghoul, but the other turned and walked towards me. Its limbs were naturally long, and now it was rapidly climbing up on all fours. This scene was too scary. I cried as I climbed. Seeing that I was about to be caught, I rummaged in the bag, pulled out a yellow talisman, and threw it fiercely at his head. The talisman stuck to his head and instantly made a sizzling sound. A wisp of black smoke rose. The ghoul screamed and stumbled back several steps. It works, I climbed up, while looking for opportunities to throw talismans down from the bag. After 7 or 8 throws, the distance between the ghoul and me actually widened. Shi Shi's shout came from below. Hey, leave some for me. There's sticky rice in the bag. That works too. Most importantly, it's cheap. Use that first. Okay, I frantically took out sticky rice from the bag and threw it at the ghoul's head. But the ghoul was enraged by me. Even though the sticky rice hit his body, with crackling sounds, his footsteps didn't stop at all, pouncing straight at me. I was standing on the second floor landing, with a window behind me. In panic, I had a flash of inspiration, pushed the window open backward, and quickly dodged to the side. But I underestimated him. The ghoul did tumble out the window, but he also reached out and grabbed my hair. I widened my eyes in horror as my body uncontrollably fell out of the window. The ghoul fell to the ground, and I crashed onto him. So I was just a bit dizzy. My body was unhurt. I crawled off him to run. But the ghoul tightly gripped my ankle and smashed me heavily onto the ground. This time, my internal organs felt like they had shifted. I curled up in pain. The ghoul stood up. The almost 2-meter frame gave an intense sense of oppression. He blocked the pale streetlight, and his shadow on the ground enveloped me. Help! Even knowing no one was around to save me, I still screamed at the top of my lungs. The next second, a panting male voice rang out, "Coming, here." I turned my head, only to see a slightly chubby guy running quickly out of the dense fog. He raised his hand and struck the ghoul with a copper coin sword. Then he scooped me up and pulled me aside. "I am Zun Man from Zhongguan Temple," he quickly introduced himself. I froze for a moment, then realized, "Are you a man from the live stream?" He looked a bit ashamed. "Yes. That ghouls appeared here on Tianqiu First Road is indeed our responsibility." Bang! The large door next to us was violently smashed open from the inside. Shi Ni and the ghoul tumbled out together, rolled on the ground, and quickly got up. I say, "Now doesn't seem like the time for catching up." Zun Man's face turned serious. "When I came just now, I temporarily sealed off these two streets with a miasma array." Shi Ni nodded and took her cloth bag from my hands. She took out the few remaining talismans from inside, counted them. "Good. Should be enough." While speaking, the two ghouls were already standing together. Corpse aura permeated their bodies. One ghoul knelt at the feet of the other. The standing ghoul slowly bent down and bit into its neck. "Oh no," Shi Ni frowned. "It's a sacrifice," Zun Man concisely explained it to me. "Ghouls are rare. To avoid extinction, they have a sacrifice consciousness. One will sacrifice itself to let a stronger ghoul absorb it, so it can gain a massive power boost in a short time and survive." I was stunned. Everything I encountered tonight was beyond my comprehension. "We can't let the sacrifice finish." Shi Ni pulled Zun Man over. "Do you know how to set up the ghost locking array?" Zun Man nodded. "My master taught me. I know the theory, but haven't practiced it." "You have to do it even if you don't know how," Shi Ni yelled in a low voice. "You set up the ghost locking array, and I will set up the ghost sending to hell array. We'll send both these ghouls away at once." All right, seeing them take positions in the east and west, not wanting to drag them down, I quickly found a corner to hide. Zun Man wore glasses, his expression exceptionally serious. He glanced at me, then changed direction and ran to a spot not far from me. He stuck his copper coin sword behind his waist, then took out several copper coins from his chankum bag and placed them in his palm. Then he chanted loudly, "Heavenly fire thunder god. Earthly fire thunder god. 5 thunders descend. Lock ghosts close essence. Jade Emperor's decree. Slay evil, destroy essence. Gigi Rulu Ling obey the command swiftly." Those copper coins instantly flew towards the two ghouls, spinning continuously. They eventually multiplied into 28 coins, fixing themselves firmly around them. The ghoul that had absorbed half of the sacrifice instantly grew furious. He threw the other ghoul down and reached out to grab the copper coins, but his body hit an invisible wall and was slammed back. He bumped around inside. The surrounding copper coins vibrated up and down, emitting piercing hums. I heard Zun Man softly say, "The ghost locking array is also called the Thunder Pool. It's a method specially used to imprison evil ghosts. Day is yang, night is yin. Evil ghosts can only move at night. The layout of the Thunder Pool is placing 28 copper coins around the evil ghost, artificially creating the 28 mansions. Copper coins possess yang energy, so it creates an illusion for the evil ghost. Cross the thunder pool by one step, and you enter the yang realm. This array doesn't do any damage to the evil ghost. It only acts as imprisonment. I only then realized he was talking to me. But I didn't understand a word he said. Sun Man turned to look at me. How is it? Interesting, right? I see you have a good bone structure. Do you want to come to my Zhongguan temple as a lay disciple? No thanks. I really didn't want to deal with these things. Over there, Shi Ni was also setting up her array. With a red string tied around her index finger. Her fingers moved nimbly up and down. She made a strange hand gesture. Her chanting voice was clear, but extremely authoritative. The peach wood sword levitated in front of her. Shi Ni bit her index finger, using her finger as a pen, and blood as ink. She quickly drew a talisman on the peach wood sword. The moment the talisman took shape, golden light burst forth. Shi Ni directly jumped into the ghost-locking array that Sun Man just set up. The ghoul's sacrifice was incomplete, and he was almost entirely suppressed by Shi Ni. Sun Man watched dumbfounded from the side. Goodness, Zhuangqing Temple has real skills, I asked in a small voice. Beside him is Master Shi Ni. Very powerful? Can she beat the ghouls? Sun Man looked at me with a serious face. The method of subjugation uses extreme yang to govern yin and borrows the power to enter the earth. When great yin is abundant, yang weakens to extinction. But when great yang is abundant, it sends the dead straight to the underworld, never to be reincarnated. I was completely baffled. What does that mean? You don't need to care. I also just memorized it from a book, saying it to look cool. Sun Man coughed dryly. In short, this is a contest between yin and yang. The ghoul's yin energy can't beat Shi Ni's yang energy. This contest will end soon. As soon as he finished speaking, I heard Shi Ni shout sternly. She slapped a yellow talisman onto the ghoul's forehead. The ghoul fell to the ground with a thud, before he could stand up. Shi Ni had already ruthlessly stabbed down with the peach wood sword. Those who rebel shall die. Dare to act as executioners of the underworld? Yield to my true yang. Jiji Rulu Ling obey the command swiftly. I widened my eyes looking at the ground. A crack suddenly appeared. Dark red light emanated from the crack. It was as if an invisible hand reached out and violently dragged that ghoul downwards. The ghoul struggled to run out, but couldn't resist that force. His whole body was pulled out of shape. At the moment, his head was ripped off. I heard his piercing scream, ah. Then the scream completely dissipated. The surrounding scenery instantly changed. The pale streetlights returned to a warm yellow. The pervading fog also dispersed. Faintly, I could hear human voices coming from the distant streets again. The relief of surviving a disaster made me uncontrollably cover my face and cry bitterly. Shi Ni sat on a bench resting. Sun Man came over awkwardly to comfort me. Surviving a great disaster means great fortune later. Your blessings are yet to come. But what about Chen Hao? I cried until I was out of breath. What about Chen Hao? Sun Man fell silent. After a while, he sighed. It was a tribulation in his destiny. He couldn't escape it. Shi Ni packed her things and walked over. Seeing this, Sun Man quickly said, since fellow Taoist Shi Ni is still here, then I'll leave first. Our Zhongguan temple will definitely handle the aftermath well. And we will coordinate with the local police station to reassure the public. Saying this, he was about to slip away, but Shi Ni grabbed him by the back collar. The job isn't finished. Where are you sneaking off to? Shi Ni dragged him back into that centennial braised stew shop. Straight to the second floor. Stopping in front of the large wardrobe, Shi Ni counted silently. A total of 13 lives. Each person gets the rebirth mantra chanted 3 times. Sun Man, am I doing it alone? Sun Man glanced at her. Otherwise? I have stuff to do. Sun Man asked instinctively. What stuff? Shi Ni replied. Filing a complaint against Zhongguan Temple for careless investigation, causing massive losses to the masses. Shi Ni escorted me home. Before leaving, Shi Ni said something to me, just now in the miasma maze. I wasn't supposed to find you so quickly. Someone led me to you. I froze for a moment, looking up at her. Shi Ni said, your boyfriend, Chen Hao. He loves you very much. His soul had been following you. He found me. So I was able to save you. I stared at her blankly, unable to speak a word. Shi Ni asked me, do you want to talk to him? Shi Ni tapped my eyes twice with talisman water. Open them in 3 seconds. The yin-yang eyes effect only lasts for 3 minutes. And only this once. Keep an eye on the time. Click. The sound of the door closing rang out. I slowly opened my eyes. Shi Ni had already left. Everything around me seemed no different. Until a pair of cold, pale arms from behind slowly hugged me. I shivered from the cold. Tears instantly fell out. I told you not to go. But you insisted. Chen Hao held me, saying I'm sorry over and over again. I reached out to touch his hand, but my fingers went straight through. I can't even touch you anymore. I looked at Chen Hao and asked him, did it hurt? When you were eaten by the ghouls, did it hurt? Chen Hao shook his head. Yan, I'm sorry. I broke my promise. The promise I made to you can only be fulfilled in the next life. I bought you a ring. It's hidden behind our TV. I originally wanted to formally propose to you, but I didn't make it in time. Yan, please visit my parents for me sometimes. With my brother and sister around, they should be fine. And then, you find someone who truly treats you well. Most importantly, find someone who listens to you. Don't be like me, always trying to play the hero blindly. For the first time, I felt 3 minutes was so short. How could we only have time to say a few words? Chen Hao's face became blurrier and blurrier. His voice also gradually became inaudible until his figure completely disappeared. I finally woke up as if from a dream. Now, I couldn't even cry out loud. Just silently looking into the void. My heart bitter to the extreme. Shi Ni's voice came from the door. I'm taking him away. Everyone has their own destiny. Zhou Yan, get some rest early. Thank you, I nodded blankly. The booming Centennial Braised Stew shop closed down overnight. The police said illegal substances were found inside, and the vendors were arrested. The business at my little shop picked up again. Not only did regular customers return, but many new customers also came. I told you your braised stew is the best. That other shop was too fragrant. Couldn't get used to it. I smiled and handed her a bowl of soup. Complimentary mung bean soup to cleanse the palate. Oh my. The woman beamed. You really know how to do business. She picked up the soup and drank it in one gulp. So good. I feel so refreshed after drinking it. Of course, because it has talisman water from Zwanking Temple in it. Shi Ni visited once more later, asking for a favor. She said too many people had eaten at that Centennial Braised Stew shop. That stew contained the corpse aura of the ghouls. People who ate it would be prone to illness and constant nightmares. She asked me to mix Zwanking Temple's talisman water into mung bean soup and give a cup to passing customers. In these two commercial streets, many of the people passing by were locals. And among the customers who came to me, 9 out of 10 had patronized that Centennial Braised Stew shop before. Although I couldn't ensure everyone was cured of the corpse aura, this was the greatest effort I could make. After the woman finished her stew, she still didn't leave. She looked around. Huh? Where's your boyfriend? Why haven't I seen him? I froze for a moment. He passed away. He was in an accident. The woman looked at me in surprise, didn't ask further, and felt too embarrassed to stay longer. Quickly leaving, I cleaned up the shop and locked the door. A neighboring vendor asked me, Xiao Zhou, are you not opening tomorrow? Yes, uncle. For these 3 days, Please keep an eye on my shop for me. No problem. I developed a habit of going to Zwanking Temple for a few days every month. It felt like only there could I get a good night's sleep. Time flew by quickly. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. On the day of the first snow, I waited for Shi Ni. She came to visit her master. I won't be coming here anymore in the future. I looked at her and smiled. Shi Ni nodded and asked me, have you let it go? I've let it go. I turned and looked at the mountain peaks covered by a thin layer of snow. Feeling the chill in the air, I slowly exhaled. I have to embrace a new life. Last night, he came to my dream. I couldn't help but smile. He said I kept missing him, so he couldn't even reincarnate. The end.